So here we are with Matt Fichtenbaum, former Genred musician, raconteur, and engineer par excellence. When did you join GR, Matthew?
Well, I started as a co-op from MIT in 1964.
64, here in Concord.
Here in Concord. First co-op term was the tour through manufacturing, where I got to meet
It was great.
all kinds of great people and spend my summer doing things I never would have imagined.
Yeah, great. That was a good plan. That was an excellent plan.
And looking back on it, it was great fun.
Yeah,
Sometimes at the time, watching people paint panels, I thought life has to get better than this.
yeah. But it also taught you what happens to a product after it gets thrown over the wall from engineering.
Yes, it did, and it
Yeah.
let me meet a lot of people with whom I would have reason to interact once I came
Yeah.
to work there.
Yeah. No, I loved it. Henry Hall went the same path. I went the same path. Folks. Now, you were co-op working for Folks? Or
My last two co-op terms, I worked for Folks, which was also a great thing.
Yeah.
Folks was a true visionary, still
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, still is.
and very much could see the evolution of where electronics was going and where the evolution of computer technology would take our industry.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit, because at first, what were you working on?
I think for my first time in engineering, I worked with Jim Skilling, and we were building a variety of counters and similar digital-oriented benchtop instruments.
Okay, for Dick Frank. Dick Frank's group.
Dick Frank's group.
Yeah, and I was next door.
That's right.
Yeah.
You, Dave Nixon,
Dave Nixon,
Jim Skilling.
Bob Stewart, or Stewart had gone by
I
then.
think he'd gone by then.
Yeah, yeah.
The impedance group was
Stratemeyer.
next door. Stratemeyer was in Bolton. Stratemeyer was working
All right, that was later on.
synthesizers and frequency standards.
Yeah, yeah, rubidium and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, because then later on you were in the other building with Folks, Building 1, or
That's right.
yeah,
Up on the other side of the cafeteria.
yeah. Now, the big deal is the 1790s, and that came along. Was that you as an engineer or still a co-op?
I was still a co-op then.
Still a co-op.
And we, Bob Folks and his band of henchmen, of whom I was one, were chartered. I think Genred had some new low-cost frequency counters, and the challenge was how best to test them. And historically, one had built special purpose test fixtures for each new instrument, and Bob saw that the future lay in something more general purpose, and that computers could have a role in it. So we built a computer-controlled test system. He got to borrow the first affordable mini-computer, which was DEC PDP-8. It was a tabletop thing that cost $18,000 in 1965, at about the power of one of today's smartphones, if that.
Even less.
If that.
Even less. Well, as I recall, the biggest thing I remember about you and that project was that you were able to get the entire functioning software into 4K of memory. And these Ks weren't 16-bit bytes, these were 8-bit bytes.
The PDP-8 was in fact a 12-bit machine.
Yeah.
And we fit it all into 4K 12-bit words because we didn't know any better. We didn't know that you couldn't do that.
Exactly. But I mean, it boggles the mind. And this was core memory, wasn't it?
That's right.
Core, these little donuts invented by Jay Forrester of
At
MIT.
Yes.
And it still blows me away because, and you had no operating system or high-level language or any of that C++ sissy stuff they use now.
I believe you've identified the reason that it all fit.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. And in fact, you were programming in machine language?
We were programming an assembler, which is a very thin wrapper on top of machine language.
So you did have an assembler. I wasn't sure. And you still got it in the 4K.
Oh, we did.
I mean, it boggles the mind. The camera I'm holding, I got a 32 gigabyte card in this camera.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, I know it. But that blows me away now. At the time, we didn't know nothing, so that was it.
We
Yeah.
were we looked with gratitude on every little
I know it.
bit of added functionality you could find.
And then,
that was
how'd
great
you get
fun.
it in there? Punch tape or toggle switches?
It was punch tape.
Punch tape.
Punch tape system. And the initial plan was to develop this system for in-house use, this universal test fixture whose functions could be controlled by written instructions, in effect a programming language meant for board test. And then I think the idea occurred to just about everybody who was working on that project at the same time that if this solved a problem within Genrad, it had a potential
Maybe we could sell it.
as a product.
Maybe we can sell it.
And
Well, as I recall the story, you talked about the counters. I thought it began when Fulks had to develop a test for his own 1680 automatic capacitance bridge.
no, the 1680 was up and running and established in manufacturing.
All right, so it was after that that the testing of digital logic became a problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that probably worked out well because the initial targets, the initial things that were going to be tested on that machine were all digital.
True
So
digital.
they could be interfaced to with all digital. And
Yeah.
it let us put off the development of analog input and output or
Yeah.
stimulus devices and measurement devices.
Now, that was the beginning of the ATE industry,
Yes,
I
it was.
believe, automatic test
right.
equipment.
That's
And
right.
and I guess Fulks had the concept and you helped him make it a reality.
I think that's true.
I do too. I do too. Peter Goebel once tried to get in there in the credit line, but and we let him in a little bit, but
Yeah.
we all know. Yeah.
Bob Anderson was the first marketing engineer
Yeah.
selling that.
But you founded an industry.
We did.
Yeah.
We
I
did,
mean,
and looking back on it, round numbers, we figured that Genrad's sales contribution to the board test industry at the time where I left Genrad, which was 1995, was $1 billion.
yeah, at least, easily, yeah. So then what happened then? 1790, you got your feet wet on that.
We did 1790, first digital functional board tester. I think there were a couple of product evolutions of it, basically the same functionality
Yeah.
with new hardware.
And CAPS, the simulator.
The next major step was the recognition that writing functional tests for complex digital boards was hard.
Yeah,
And we, in the person of Lutz Henkels and his group, developed
a group of
CAPS,
crazies. Yeah,
digital board simulator.
yeah,
And that was the backbone of that product line for a long
yeah,
time.
that's right. And then many other companies got into the act with all kinds of simulators for
That's right.
other purposes, mechanical simulation, etc.
That's right.
That's great. That's
The holy grail goal would have been completely automatic test generation.
yeah,
Given the complexity of a board and the sensitivity to how it doesn't do anything unless you excite it just the right way.
yeah.
That wasn't, we weren't by any means there yet.
Yeah. So you helped develop the entire family from then forward, all the way up to the 2200 series. Were you in that?
Eventually, with increasingly complex boards, functional tests became less practical because of the time and effort it took to prepare programs.
Yeah.
And the alternative strategy of so-called in-circuit test, in which one surrounded a single component with input and output devices that were strong enough to override whatever the rest of the board was doing.
Skilling in his back driving patent, I remember that.
That's
back
right.
driver. Yeah.
And a little company in Florida, a guy named Jim Boatman,
Yeah.
which would test a chip at a time by means of an IC clip on top of it. It's kind of the first commercial presence in in-circuit
Yeah. What
test.
company? What was that called? What the hell was that? I remember him. Yeah.
I don't have the name of it.
No, me neither. Me neither. And nobody else cares but you and me.
Right.
So anyway, then what happened? And what did-
Then Genrad decided to build its own in-circuit test. And there were, I think, three of us, Brian Sargent, Dick Case, and
Yeah,
I,
Dick Case.
who were a proof of concept team to see what we could do. We concluded that it looked possible, that it was possible to build the hardware necessary to interact with the devices, and that we had a start on generating and adapting tests automatically. And we went ahead with the 2270 product.
The whole series. And I can recall you as a mentor to the young engineers. For some reason, you were able to take a young guy and help him along the way.
Well, you know, we had some pretty entertaining young folks.
Yeah.
And Rick Santarpio, Cliff Younger,
Yep.
John Moniz, and just guys where it was one could get a whole lot more done with the help of good folks like that.
Yeah.
And it was a shared discovery to do it, and they wound up learning something, and I wound up learning
That was
something.
great. It was great.
It was, I think, to me, that was the best of the Genrad engineering atmosphere.
That's right.
Was that kind of
That's right. Senior guys helping the younger guys. Henry Hall being an epitome of the
very much, and
same
Bob
thing.
Folks.
Folks, Henry Hall, Dick Frank.
Yes.
Yeah, they all had that ability to not keep it under the rug, but help the other guys, and that was great.
I think the team that we built supported that.
Yeah. So then what happened? When did you leave GR?
Well,
I don't really remember that. I was someplace else. I don't know. I was out on the West Coast or wherever the hell I
I
was.
think a couple things happened along the way. The
Yeah.
most significant one of which was that the hardware development group wound down.
Yeah.
I got shunted over to the software group, which made perfect sense because by then I was, if anything, more at home in software.
Interesting. You could swing from both sides of the plate, so to speak.
From my viewpoint, which was a couple levels up in implementation, we were building the same thing with just different implementation technologies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Same old, same old.
I think I wound up in a software group that didn't understand really what I was.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of us senior level types. Gordon Robinson was the
Yep,
other.
yep, yep.
Very smart, theoretical oriented fellow.
Yeah.
And at the point where Genrad needed to become leaner,
Yeah.
we were surplus. And
So where'd you go?
So that was in end of 1995, and I did some networking, and a vice president at Tektronix by the name of Richie
Faubert. Okay. Yeah.
long-term Genrad person,
Yeah.
had gone to Tech and was then in a vice presidential position. I spoke to him, and Tektronix, about 6 months before, had acquired a little company in Massachusetts called Microwave Logic, whose major business thrust was telecom test. And so Richie got me into Microwave Logic, and I spent from beginning of '96 through early 2003 working for Tech as the telecom industry, and hence the telecom test industry rose up for a year or so. We were Tektronix's fastest growing division.
That's great.
And then with the collapse and the vast overabundance of telecom capacity, fiber network capacity,
Yeah.
the capital equipment for manufacturing test for telecom market collapsed,
Yeah.
and Tektronix consolidated that effort and closed the Massachusetts group.
Yeah. And not that long after, Richie and Bill Cabley both left Tektronix to go to Texas.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Speed Fam IPEC. What a name for a company.
you know, I think my doctor prescribed that for me once.
All right, but let's get back to GR. That carries you through. You're still working. You're
I'm
not
still working.
You're not retired.
After Tektronix, I joined a startup that was founded by Fadi Dow, another
Yeah.
ex-Genrad person.
Yeah, I know of him and I've met him, but I didn't know him.
It subsequently got acquired by Agilent,
Yeah.
which then merged its products into other divisions.
And for those who don't know, Agilent is the old Hewlett-Packard,
It's the old instrumentation.
our friendly enemy from the West Coast.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm now working part-time by choice for Klein Associates up in Salem, New Hampshire.
Great.
Who make sonar gear for undersea search and survey.
Military customer,
More civilian,
civilian customers.
both for mapping and charting and for searching. A lot of law enforcement agencies use it for looking for things under the water.
Sounds fascinating. Sounds
Very
good.
much so.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have any words of wisdom and advice for your Genrad counterparts, many of whom will watch this, both of them?
I think that, I did a lot of my growing up as an engineer at Genrad. I think it was a great place to do it. Test and measurement is a phenomenal industry because, at least I feel, I got exposed to a very wide range of technologies and problems to be solved because we were building test gear for a wide variety of different customers. I got to meet and work with a really great collection of people, and it left me with a major appreciation for how much fun engineering can be and how much better it is than actually growing up.
Oh, I love it, Matt. Well, thank you very much. That's Matt Fichtenbaum. Now, we've run a little longer than usual, but I'm sure you people who are watching this 17 minutes will enjoy it. Bye-bye, Matt.
Goodbye, Harold. Thank you.